know you can. Good morning. Good morning. Excellent. All right, so those of you know me, know my presentations are highly participatory, and it does not matter where you sit in the room. So Jimmy, I know you're out there, and I'm prepared for whatever you're about to bring. All right, just good morning. Good morning to you too. Human error is our topic today, and it is how to avoid the bad hire, as Randy said. And this is the Achilles heel of every single business, regardless of industry. So I want to take you through a lot of different things today, as much as possible within our 44 and 20 seconds and counting, and to give you as much as possible. But I'm going to be here through the end of the conference. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have on an individual basis. But at the end of this, the very last slide that you're going to see is all of our contact information, and our team is ready to send you the deck and connect you with all of the content rich that you would like to take with you, because we will give you more than you probably want. So with that said, how many of you, this is participation portion, thank you Bill Venlaw for showing up. I told you no one's safe. So how many of you got into the financial industry to manage employees, teams, and the business operations? I see one person, two people. They're lying, or they're the implementers for somebody like you that can't do that. So, and if you as the business owner have a job, you actually don't have a business, you have the job. The business relies completely on you, and you are absolutely working for the lunatic that you are in the business owner, because you haven't necessarily given clear objectives of what you even want in the position, on the bus, where we're going overall. So I hope that when you leave today, you're gonna take a few of these things and be able to implement them immediately into your practice. But we're gonna go over some reality check. So this next section is all about the numbers, all about the research, what the reality is within the workforce today. And these are pretty scary numbers. So first off, 15% of employees are actually engaged. So let's flip it. So that means 85% of the people in your office right now are just really going through the motions. They're maybe punching the time card. They're not necessarily thinking about how to be better or how to do something differently or refine and design some of the processes and systems that you have in place. But rather they are just punching the clock, 8 to 5, 9 to 5, whatever your hours are. And I see some of you smiling and laughing, and that means that that is your reality. Would that be correct, Mr. Cruzan? All right, just checking. So with that said, here, the 70% of those that are engaged, it is totally determined by you, the manager. So how well you provide the goals, objectives, and clarity and path of where you want your business to go will impact how your people show up. Because people do not leave jobs, they leave you. They leave the managers, they leave bosses, they leave leaders. Because you haven't given clarity of what the expectations are and how to get there. And taking time out. How many of you take time out to work internally on the business? Yes, some few hands, all right? What's the frequency of how much you turn internally and slow down and pump the brakes? Do you do it once a quarter? Once every 2 months? Once every month? Oh, a few more hands. So my challenge to you in this moment is those teams that we get to have the privilege to work with, and there are a lot of you in this room, and so I know all the dirt about you, so you can't say anything ugly about me because I have better stuff on you. So with that said, if you are not giving the clarity to your team, they are not going to be as engaged. They will leave you and find another place for their home. So here's some more numbers. 22% of workers strongly agree that leadership is clear on the direction of your firm. Doesn't that mean 78% of people don't believe you know what the heck you're doing and where you want to take your business, if we said it the opposite way? So the words that you live and breathe by, your core values, your vision, your focus. I had the opportunity to walk into one of your Raymond James peers, And they had a beautiful, stunning office, very modern, glass, all kinds of things. And they had metal words that were their core values and core focus, laser cut out of metal, and they were on the wall. Absolutely beautiful. And the team members said, those are great, but we don't actually live by those. That's not the day-to-day experience that we live by within this practice. So if you have words on the wall, but you don't live by them, the words mean nothing. They are just a piece of art that you have with no meaning behind it. So 50%, look around, look to your right and to your left at your peers in this room. 50% of the team members back at home are probably posting for a job right now, putting it on Indeed, Glassdoor. They might even call the recruiter that's in the room to find another location. So critical that you absolutely engage. So here's the cost. So Randy, you said 43%. The cost of a bad hire is anywhere from 30 to upwards of 50% of the first year's compensation. So for my math ability, if you have a $100,000 job, that's a $50,000 mistake. That is not even counting, by the way, the time that it takes for you or any of your team members that have been a part of the hiring process and what their hourly rate is and the time that you've invested in that hiring process. But the cost of poor management and lost productivity is upwards of $1 trillion in the United States workforce today. These are current numbers, and it's only going to get worse based upon what happened last year and the changing workforce and what you've got to be mindful of what you are offering to ensure that you are an employer of choice. Because if your team looks like this, does anyone recognize any of these faces and disengaged employees? The damaged reputation that this can cause to not only your clients, but the toxic, and Randy said it perfectly, thank you, sir. I've been into your office for a while, haven't I? It can be an absolutely toxic nature and destroy the culture that you have within your practice, and being mindful of who you bring in and how you create the path for them to follow and encourage them to grow and be retained within your firm is absolutely critical. But if you think none of this is your responsibility, do you live here? Do you notice what the background is? This is unicorns and sprinkles and candy canes that are falling from the sky. Because too often you've abdicated your responsibility as a leader of human beings. You are outstanding business owners, but not necessarily leading the pack. We've heard a massive amount of beautiful speakers yesterday and today of what teamwork needs to look like and how you engage them. But if you're not taking the time out, and I don't actually think I told you what that frequency was. The frequency for the teams that we have the highest success rate for implementation of all things practice management is once a month. They close the doors once a month. For a full entire day, I'm glad you're all sitting down so that you don't pass out if you're like, what? How could we possibly do that? Close for an entire day, phones go on voicemail, out of office email goes on, doors are locked, and the clients know that you are closed to focus internally in order to bring your business to the next level. What did one of the speakers say yesterday? Great teams are always upping your game, so up yours. This is that moment for once a month to focus internally on your business and have a clear path. So if you want something new, you have to stop doing something old. So everybody stand up for me. Again, interaction is key. So have to stop doing something old in order to do something new. So arms out. I know some of you have done this before. Now cross your arms for me and look at your arms. Which arm is on the top? Okay? So keep that in mind. Now arms out again and put the opposite arm on top this time. And some of you are still struggling. It's a bless your heart moment. I live in Atlanta and there's a lot of bless your hearts there. And if you don't know what bless your heart means, we'll talk about that later. So it's not good. You are right. You are right, Brian Sweet. So try something new, something different in order to stop doing something old. But what is that? So get ready for change. Here is what the world of work looks like. And I welcome any shouts out from the office from the audience, if you have seen and what changes you've made within your practice to accommodate what the workforce looks like today. So those of us in this room that are Gen X and older, anyone? Anyone? Okay. Is there anyone born 1981 or later? All right, there's a few of you. Okay. So there's the difference if we said the past thinking and future reality. So past thinking, this is looking at, hey, this is my paycheck. It's just a job. It's my job. Yeah, that's my boss. And, I get an annual review. Here's my numbers. Here's my comp. Thank goodness I have a job. We focus on the weaknesses, help try to improve those, and it's just my situation. It is what it is. No news is good news for Gen X and older. We really don't want to hear. But the future reality is, what is my purpose? And how do I impact the world? How do I get development so that I can be at my ultimate best for the clients that we're engaging with? I want to coach. Who knows what OJT is? On-the-job training. Thank you, Jimmy, as I heard you very loud and clear. OJT, yes, that's Gen X and older language, but that's what it is today, of wanting the coaching experience on a regular basis. Regular basis means a day-to-day. But from the aspect of focusing on their strengths to increase those strengths. And I want a work-life balance, work from home. Everybody went remote, right? Everybody went remote. Is everybody back in? Yes, 100%? How many of you are doing a hybrid work from home and in the office? A few of you? Yes. If you are not considering creating a hybrid of work from home and in the office, you will no longer be an employer of choice. I can guarantee you that. This is a requirement. The world has changed, and if you're not willing to do that, you will not attract top candidates. That says WFH, not WTF, by the way. So Gen X and older probably is saying WTF right now, but younger than Gen X is saying WFH. That's what's important. My team has been virtual since inception of Ironstone. So a little background, I was a financial advisor. I had the opportunity to start training advisors that came in the door. I fell in love with that. I changed to practice management. I worked at 3 different mutual fund firms, Dreyfus, Prudential, and DWS, which is Deutsche Bank. And I got laid off twice, 2002 and 2008, by the same person, by the way. Very small industry, once you're in. It was Groundhog Day in 2002 and 2008. But the value of what I got to see when working at those mutual fund firms is I got to walk into every single custodian, every single broker-dealer, and the problems were all the same. It didn't matter where. So I'll show you what the creation and outcome of that was in a few more slides. But from the aspect of understanding what the culture of work is today is absolutely critical, again, to make you an employer of choice. I want to help you change and shift your mindset from being a boss to a coach, because 26% of employees strongly agree that feedback actually helps them. That's a scary thought. If you, again, flip the number, that means that not many people are getting great feedback, in other words. So how do you give feedback? How are you coaching your team members to help elevate their game? Here are your 3 requirements for a great coaching experience and how it is going to impact the engagement on your team. So establishing the goals, continuing coaching, and an accountability piece. Establishing the goals with the human that you are coaching is absolutely critical. If you are dictating, here are your goals and objectives, versus let's create this together based upon what your career path is, you are not going to give the experience that's going to be the best for your team members. And what does this say? 4 times or more engaged by getting them involved. It's a 2-way communication versus 1-way, I'm just giving you your goals, versus let's create your goals together. And very few people are actually experiencing this in having that two-way communication. So the continually coaching, again, OJT, it can be a quick flyby, but it absolutely has to be meaningful. If it's just, hey, great job, that's a kudos, but what did it really do for me? I think it was Matt yesterday that was talking about what's the impact of your feedback? How is it going to change their behavior? So if it's not meaningful and specific, it doesn't help me change my behavior and get the outcome that you are potentially looking for as the business owner and guide and leader for your firm. And then accountability, performance feedback. So again, here's a participation opportunity. What is the frequency that you provide performance feedback? And let me frame what I mean by performance feedback. Again, this is a more formalized, where you have key performance indicators that you are working with, and you are measuring, monitoring based upon that. How frequent do you do this? How many of you do this 4 times a year? A few of you. 3, 2, 1. 0. Some of you didn't even vote. I know you didn't vote. My recommendation, if you don't do this at all, at least do it once a year. If you do it once a year, I would challenge you to do it twice a year, June and December, a mid-year review and an end-year review, so that you can have a purposeful, more structured feedback than your OJT, quick flyby on a week-to-week basis. That is absolutely going to help step up the game for you and your team members and get clarity of where you want them to go from their own career path. Because now you're measuring it and monitoring it based upon key performance indicators. So we've created a performance feedback system that several of you use in this room that have 15 different key performance indicators that, regardless of role, from intern to owner, the 15 key performance indicators will work for all of those people. The last portion of the feedback system is then creating individual goals based upon the role that tie directly to them. So a client service person is going to have much different goals and objectives than a financial advisor. But the key performance indicators can still be measured exactly the same from each of those roles. Goals are different, performance indicators are the same. All right. So what's the formula? Again, based upon my own career path and history, this is the outcome of getting to go to all of those different mutual fund firms and being able to walk into every single custodian and broker-dealer and the problems being all the same. This is a great blueprint for you to utilize to measure your entire practice, even beyond the human element, because we are taking a slice of what this fundamental 4 is. So it's strategic planning, business development, operational effectiveness, and the human element. There are 8 subcategories underneath each of those. So there are 32 line items that you can audit your practice on, measure, monitor, and see how well it functions or does not. Take a slice of each of these 4 elements and put them into your annual goals and objectives and focus on 1 to 2 things every single 90 days. Focus only on 1 to 2 things every single 90 days. And I see everybody taking a picture of this slide, and this is the most loved slide because it's a measuring stick, right? It's a scoreboard. You cannot circle the whole entire thing and say, we're doing this in 2021. Again, it's a bless your heart moment. If that's your goal and objective, let's scale it down to focus. And why we say 90 days, chunking things into 3 months is a great way to tie it and correlate it with your development days, the days that you close the doors. So this would enable you, if you said, we were going to work on client segmentation and service metrics, then we have 90 days to polish, refine, define the current condition of development day 1, refine and design what we want to do development day number 2, and development day number 3, it gives you the opportunity to bring back what information you had in using that for the last 9 or 30 days and be able to then even upgrade it more based upon what you found and what worked and what didn't work. So 90-day chunks are great for you to consider focusing because 30 days goes by far too quickly. So let's just focus on human element. And we've got a lot to cover, and now I'm down to 25 minutes, so I will speed it up. And again, I will be here till the end of the conference to take any questions that you guys have and make sure we can give you all the resources that you need. So from the human element piece, here are all the 8 subcategories within, but we look at, again, communication, career path, performance feedback, hiring and onboarding, team development, culture, leadership, job profile, and descriptions. We're only going to cover the things in orange today so that we can scale this down, because we've created a hiring program that you can implement if you are wanting to have a soup to nuts from building the job profile to onboarding that team member in a really healthy and great way. This is what our program is. Paul Garcia, would you stand up, please? I know you're right there. I see you, even though. So Paul Garcia is our strategic partner. You guys have probably already talked to them. They're out this door, and to the left, it's Talent Wealth Recruiting. We are not recruiters. That's the recruiter. This is the guy that we send people to, that when you need someone to do the heavy lifting up front, that's your crew. So go talk to Paul. Corey is, I think, on a client call trying to get someone placed. But they are a great group of people to work with. Recruiters typically want to put somebody in the seat as fast as possible so they can get paid. Guess what? If it doesn't go right in the first 6 months, they'll redo the whole process for you at no additional cost. Few recruiters do that. So really, it's a privilege to have you as a strategic partner. Thank you. With that, our process is helping you to learn in and of itself how to hire, onboard, interview, the offer, the compensation, the organizational structure, and you can repeat this time after time after time, regardless of role. So here are 6 elements that we're going to break down. So from finding and attracting to hiring right with the interview process to assessments, onboarding and engaging, developing and retaining, and yes, there are some necessary departures, and how you do that will absolutely impact the future of your practice. So breaking this down, finding and attracting. While there are several elements within this, the job profile is absolutely your starting point and critical. Here is a typical experience that we get and calls. I just hired some, we're so excited. What do we pay them and what do we have them do? I'm like, why are you calling me now? Shouldn't we have done that prior to actually hiring someone? That's literally calls that we get. I hired, they're just like me. I love them. They're the best personality ever. What do I pay them? What do I have them do? Respectfully, that's the opposite way you should do it. So what a job profile looks like. When we say job description, I want you to think that's a 30,000-foot overview. It's very high level, and it is the marketing piece to help bring in and attract your candidates. But the task list, and where I want to help you laser focus today, because you guys can go do this on Monday with your team. A task list is a little bit deeper in the weeds versus the job description. A task list is daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, as needed. What does this role do? Because if that person walks away or you don't show up tomorrow, if anyone doesn't show up tomorrow, you have to replicate all of the work that they do from memory. And yeah, I know you're a client service person, but what are the literal tasks that you're doing on a day-to-day basis? I know you're the paraplanner. I know you're the financial advisor. It's not that I don't know that, but what is your day in a life? So again, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, as needed. Put your task list together, because that is your true job profile. That's a great piece to show someone during the interview process as well, so that they can have a true reality of what the position is. Now, when I worked at Prudential, I went through an extensive hiring process and a ton of interviews, and it was in Shelton, Connecticut. I lived in Atlanta. I still do live in Atlanta. I took the job, got hired. The first day that I was there, my new boss walked me around and got to meet everybody and said, this is Andrea, our new team member. It's great to have her on board. She's going to be here every single week here in Shelton. And I just stopped in my tracks for a second, and I said, what? I'm going to be in Shelton, Connecticut every week? I live in Atlanta. Where did we miss on that during the interview process? And hence, I was there for 9 months, and that's all I could stand it, because when I was sitting on the end of my bed in the Marriott courtyard and the hotel room service lady came that was at the front desk too, ended up sitting on the end of my bed, and we shared a hamburger and watched 40-Year-Old Virgin, I knew it was time to get a different job. That was my friend's zone right there. So I knew it was time. Be very clear in the expectations is why I tell you that silly story, and a true story, but why I tell you that, be very clear on the expectations that you have for the job. Give them a real sense of what it is, and that's what the task list does for you versus a high-level job description that says, we want a great communicator that's involved in a boutique wealth management firm that has great communication and team building and has a great organization and all of those things that you know that you put in a job description. That doesn't tell me what the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, as needed actually is. The beauty of that, and if every single one of you put together your task list and draft it out, the next objective and goal that I challenge you with is that you take that task list and everyone in the development day, closed door, focusing internally, go through the task list. Is it tedious? Yes. Is the end result and the outcome worth it? Absolutely, without question. So Randy, if we started with you and trickled down and looked at every single team member, the objective of going through it is to say, what can I delete, move, or add to said person's task list in order to refine it to build the role for the business. Don't build the role for the person that's actually in the chair right now. Build the role for the business and the firm so that you can say, this is the requirement, not for Susie Q who sits in the chair, because when she leaves, guess what? You get to rebuild the task list because she had a very, very specific skill versus building it for the business, saying, what is the requirement that I want for the client service role, for the relationship manager, for the paraplanner, for the associate advisor. That in turn is supporting you to build out your measuring stick for every single position. It's helping you build a career path because it's very clear of what the next skills are to move up the ladder if that person indeed wants to move up the ladder. Because you know what, just because they love client service doesn't mean that they have to go to advisor. Help people to be in their unique ability and be very, very valuable in their lanes, but define the lanes. So again, what can you delete, move, and add? And when I say delete, I mean delete forever. It's something that no longer is happening within the firm. It's not just deleting it, Randy, from yours and putting it on Nick's. It is deleting it forever. Now, when you get to the move portion, I want to move it off of Randy's, and you know what, I'm not sure where to put it. So put it on what I'm going to call a parking lot. A parking lot, and if you have your screen up and you're looking at it from that perspective, just drag and drop it to another Word document or Excel or whatever the placeholder is. If you're doing this on paper, have somebody doing this on your flip chart and scribing that so that you can now go through every single task list with every single person on the team. And when you get done, you then look at the parking lot and say, is this another human full-time equivalent that we need to hire, or do we need to redistribute those items back into the existing team members so that it fits, again, what the business model is for each of those positions? This is helping you build out a really quality org chart and identifying when you need to hire someone as well. Because more often than not, when I hear someone and they come to us and say, we need to hire somebody, I say, is it truly a hire and a manpower issue, or is it an efficiency issue? And 99% of the time, it is an efficiency issue, and that ties us right back to task lists and getting clear on who is doing what and refining those. With that, then what are the objectives within the first 6 to 12 months for that person? We're going to tie that to the onboarding process because too often, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, of when you've been onboarded, it's here's your phone, here's your computer, here's your desk. Good luck to you. Hope you do great as a new employee with no other direction. So we'll talk about that in onboarding. And what is all of this worth? Pulling compensation data is absolutely critical. We use industry study, we use local market study. Paul, you want to add anything to this of what you guys are doing? Yes, Paul Garcia, I'm talking to you.
As far as
You were sleeping, weren't you? You weren't even listening to me. So I caught you off guard. I'm gonna let you off the hook right now. But compensation data, we look at payscale.com. You can look at Glassdoor. You can look at, again, LinkedIn provides you with. You can look at all of your industry studies. We look at Investment News. We look at Robert Half. You want to look at CFP board. We can pull all of this information and data, but your local market, salary.com, payscale.com, you can literally put in your zip code to see what your local market data is looking like to ensure that, our industry reports are great, but depending upon where you are within the country, those industry studies, you may be above or below that wherever you are, because DeLand, Florida is much different than Atlanta, Chicago, Miami, LA, major metropolitan. So from that perspective, you may have to increase to attract someone to your smaller town that you live in. And if you are in a very competitive market, you may have to pay at a premium to attract top quality candidates. All right. So hiring right from the interview process in itself. My challenge to you, if nothing else, think hire slow, fire fast. Hire slow, fire fast, and have multiple interviews. These are all of the interviews that we guide you through and have resources, and everything is pre-done template. I know that this is what Paul and Corey are doing if you want the heavy lifting done and have the candidates sent to you, but you still are going to need to do interviewing regardless if you get to work with them or if you're implementing this yourself. So Zoom and telephone call is a great first to get through of just understanding who that candidate is. Ideally, it's less than 30 minutes. Some of the teams that we work with are starting to start off with video recorded interviews in that they are sending questions for the candidates to actually answer and tape themselves via Zoom and send that Zoom link so that they can watch that instead of an actual telephone as the first scratch. And in-office is absolutely critical. This is the opportunity for all of your team members to be involved in the process. You do not want to make the decision all by yourself as the business owner, and all of a sudden this person shows up and your team has no clue who they are, what they're doing, or why they're now in the office. Do not leave your team out of the hiring process. Skills simulation is different than assessments. Skills simulation being what is some real world work that you can have them do as a part of the interview process. So remember that task list that we talked about? All you have to do is pull some of the things off of the task list and you can turn that into a skills simulation. If you have a paraplanner, create a scenario of a client and ask them to put together recommendations of their plan. If you want to see PowerPoint skills, give them a topic to build out. If you want to see their writing skills, have them write their bio for what would be on the website. If you want to see their presentation skills, give them a topic and have them actually present. It is absolutely critical that you see some real world work because just because they say they're proficient on their resume doesn't mean it's real. Don't believe everything that you read. When I see something like that on a resume, immediately my mindset goes to prove it. Let's see what you can do. We want to experience who you will be as a team member before we actually make a decision so that we make the right decision. A mealtime interview is very insightful. This is the closest simulation that you can get to a networking event. One of the teams that we work with, they have a very specific restaurant that they take the candidates to. The restaurant knows it's an interview and they screw up their meal on purpose to see how they handle it. They have been ugly, they have been nothing, they just eat whatever they get, or they have been very cordial. It is very, very insightful if you put them in that situation. So the restaurant has a really good time with it, needless to say. And what are their dining etiquette skills? Would you be comfortable in putting them in front of a client or not whenever they're eating and drinking? So that's an opportunity for you to observe so much more from a body language perspective. And again, how would they show up in a more of a networking environment? The assessments, we'll talk about PXT and Myers-Briggs because we can run those. And we interview all the time. A top 2 opportunity is when your clients or when your candidates are so close, that's when you would run a top 2. There is no reason to drag out the interview process if it is very clear that it's the right fit. So some of these can be combined, some of these you may not even need. But again, have multiple interviews because someone can show up great, really great one time. The more you interview them in different environments, the better picture you will get on the person. But how do I fill the gaps between the resume and the interviews? PXT Select, are any of you familiar with this? I know one person, two people are, a few people are in this room. So PXT is built and legally can use for pre-hire. There's a lot of other assessments. I know Colby and DISC and Predictive Index and Myers-Briggs aren't really built for pre-hire, but PXT measures someone against a performance model. So if it's a financial advisor, we can pull off of our shelf a performance model for a financial advisor. And then, Amanda, if you said you wanted to hire that person, I'm going to give you a job analysis survey. And what that is, it's 57 questions. Don't have a heart attack. It's like 10 minutes or less to fill it out. And it says, does this role do this task rarely, occasionally, or frequently, 57 times in 57 different scenarios? And there's a little button that you just have to click. Super easy. What that does is it customizes your performance model for you specifically and that financial advisor role. The person is then taking that. This is anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes. This is much more SAT-like. Yes, there are math problems, story problems, all the fun stuff that everybody loves. I hated it when I got certified in it, but the data that it gives you is unbelievable. It gives you literal questions to ask the candidate based upon how they scored on the performance review as well. But I can run 13 different reports. If the whole entire team takes this, I can run 13 different reports, from a sales report, a coaching report, a leadership report, a comparison of candidates, a position report. So if you're being hired for financial advisor, but I could compare you to different positions within the firm to see how you would really fit. This gives you so much data, and again, all the other ones that I named. A lot of times you need somebody to help to interpret it. This, I guarantee you don't need anyone to help you interpret it because it's so well written and an assessment to use. So if that's something that we can help you with, we'd love to. If you are not looking at your candidate's social media pages, again, this is a bless your heart moment because it's amazing what you will find. Please take time to look at all of the social media of any of your candidates. Frightening. So the onboarding aspect. Remember we said 6 to 12 months. What does that look like? Instead of here's your phone, your desk, your computer, good luck to you. A literal planned out 6 to 12 months, minimum 90 days for your onboarding process. What is the content that they will learn? What are the goals and objectives that they need to accomplish? What in the next 30 days we want you to be able to do X proficiently and independently from any of the other team members. So what are the things you ultimately want them to do during a minimum, the first 90 days, plan it out. So beyond, welcoming them, giving them the keys, all of the computer setup, give them a host for the day, a team member for the day, or multiple team members for the day that they will be tied to and subject matter experts in order to educate and train and show them what your culture is like and your practice is like so that they can get ingrained very, very quickly instead of sitting at a desk and wondering what you're going to do with them because they don't know anything yet and I can do it faster, easier, better. Oh, why did I do this? So the develop and retain. Performance feedback. I know you said 1, 2, 3, or 4 times a year. I'll always speak best practice. The ideal is 4 times a year. And you might be rolling your eyes saying, ugh, I don't even want to do it once a year, let alone 4 times a year. Again, at minimum, I would encourage you twice a year for performance feedback so that you can truly have a coaching experience. They're very clear on what their goals and objectives are. And this, again, ties back to compensation. One thing I didn't share on compensation, and I'll do it really quickly, break compensation down into base, incentive, and bonus. Base, incentive, and bonus. Base, incentive, and bonus. Let me say it again. Base is tied to that task list that you built. Incentive is tied to the firm goals and to their individual goals that they have to meet in order to get an incentive compensation. And bonus is like your Monopoly money. It is your budget that you want to spend for the year for birthdays, for holidays, for wow moments that didn't necessarily tie to specific goals and objectives that that person was responsible for. This is also a safety net budget when you're in that down market, because why would you pay incentive in a 2002 or a 2008 time frame? You would not, because you didn't meet the goal. But if this person really went out of their way and busted their tail during that time frame, whether it's a 90-day or a 6-month, for the performance feedback, this is my opportunity to say, while you are eligible, Bill, for $2,500 this 90-day period, we didn't make our goal as the firm. But I understand how hard you worked. Here's $500. If we make up and make the goals at the end of the year retroactively, I will pay the other $2,000 at the end of the year. So it's a safety net. You would never pay the same or greater than out of the bonus budget. Otherwise, bonus and incentive don't make sense anymore. Say incentive. Incentive ties to performance. Bonus is a gift. Bonus is just because. Bonus is your owner discretion. And departures are necessary. Depart healthy. This is your opportunity to have an exit interview, to disengage and understand why they are leaving so that you can improve what you are doing and focus internally to determine how do we fix the things that cause the person to leave. Remember, people don't leave jobs, they leave managers, and genuinely listening and hearing what their feedback is going to allow them to, again, depart in a really healthy way. So putting it all together, we covered a lot of stuff today. So the reality check and all of the numbers, again, people don't leave jobs, they leave you, they leave people. More people are disengaged. 50% of people are leaving jobs and looking for other jobs, I should say. So what's the engagement level in your office? Pump the brakes, look inside, and see what's actually going on. The past versus the reality of thinking. If you are not creating the workforce for 2021 and beyond with work from home hybrids, different incentive packages. I know, let's see, where's David Adams? David Adams, raise your hand, please. There, here. So David has some very forward-thinking incentive comp. I think you have some unlimited PTO with bumper guards on it. Let's see, Randy, you said that you offer dry cleaning, right? Does anybody just in the few minutes shout out some of the things that you're offering to your teams? Dry cleaning, PTO, you give pet daycare, right? Don't you? What? Coffee. They need coffee to work for you, Fernando. What? Excellent. Did you guys hear that? A mobile detail every quarter. Nice job, Jimmy. All right, so there's a lot of collaboration opportunities because you guys are giving some really unique things. So I want you to be conscious of what you are offering to your team members. The formula, the fundamental 4, remember, that's your blueprint, that's your roadmap, where all of these things to measure and monitor your practice, and our coaching program that we would love to help you if that's the right fit. Again, Paul and Talent Wealth is an excellent resource from a recruiting standpoint. And I am happy to answer any questions. I'll be here through the rest of this event, so I look forward to meeting any and all of you. Again, we have the hiring program that has all of the elements in here. PXT, we run Myers-Briggs. If any of those things sound like it's a fit for you, I'd be happy to talk to you about how we can make that work. So, a few more things. Aim at nothing, and you will hit it every single time. Aim at a specific target, and it is absolutely amazing, and you'll be surprised of what you can actually accomplish. And some of you know what this means already because you've seen it in my presentations. What does this slide say? Anyone? Do I need help? What's the animal? It's a 3-letter word. Yeah, and what is that animal inside of? Hole. No, it's not a hole. Bless your heart. What is the animal inside of? And I have heard that before, so I was ready for it. What? So what does this say? Get your ass in gear. At least do something from this presentation and take a few things away so that you are actually implementing. So this is the one that you want to take the picture of. Please send an email today to office@Ironstone HQ. We'll give you the slides and some other resources for you to start implementing ASAP on Monday. We invite you to connect with us on all of our social media. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions to help you guys to avoid the bad hire, get the right people on the bus, and to have the culture that's healthy so that you have a practice that is going to be sustainable and you leave the legacy that I know you all want to leave. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thanks. Can you raise your hands or do something interactive for me, please? All right, so you look like you're alive. Okay, this side, let's see. Let's make this a competition. This side of the room, all right? And this side of the room. Okay, very good. Thank you, guys.